And we should note also, Joe, one real takeaway here from this briefing was the news that broke just before those two took the podium, that Amazon is now going to be displaying how much of an item's cost is derived from tariffs. We are seeing reports already. Prices are starting to go up in certain sectors, at certain stores, certain industries. Now, Amazon is going to show you, if you go to their website or their app and click, and I'm going to buy this, it will show you how much you're paying because of President Trump's tariffs. The press secretary deemed that a, quote, hostile and political act by Amazon. We know, of course, that Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, also owns the Washington Post and other interests, has really cozied up to Trump in these first 100 days. We'll see what happens there next. And we're going to hear from the president himself later on at this rally in Michigan to mark 100 days of his term.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's just a business, it seems to me, protecting their relationship with their customers. I suspect you will see Walmart, you will see Costco, you'll see other stores that are going to be explaining why prices are going up if they do in fact go up because of tariffs. And again, some in the Trump White House may view that as a hostile act. It seems to me to be exactly what everybody's been saying. Wall Street Journal editorial page and other conservative economists have been saying for years that tariffs are a hidden tax on consumers. And so that tax won't be so hidden if Amazon, Walmart, and other companies decide to show how much those prices are being increased because of tariffs. It is interesting, John. Let's talk about the politics of this for a second. Yesterday, you were talking about how there were almost like wanted posters of illegal immigrants that committed violent crimes that were hung up behind the standing positions where a lot of people did their hits at the White House on the fence. Done, obviously, many people believe done because of the low poll numbers that came out over the weekend. And so the White House trying to show Americans this is what we're doing on illegal immigration, even if you disagree with certain parts of it. Today seems to be sort of a 1-2 punch, right? Okay, yesterday they did that to underline what they're doing on illegal immigration. Today they bring out the Treasury Secretary to try to explain why the tariff negotiations are going to go in a positive direction and to try to not only calm the markets, but also calm consumers and calm voters who may be getting, if you look at the poll numbers, getting very squeamish about the way these tariffs have been trotted out over the past 100 days.
Yeah, that's clearly the strategy, an attempt to sort of reset the narrative here. As we've talked a lot, this is the White House. First couple months felt really good, and they've been about how things were going. They're knocked off kilter in the last month because of Signalgate, which then had its sequel, and of course, the economic fallout from the tariffs. So they're trying to focus in on what they think are the positives from the tariffs. A lot of economists, of course, disagree. And immigration. Yesterday, in fact, not only did they hang up those posters on the White House driveway, but Tom Homan, who's head of the face of the deportation effort, the immigration crackdown, he appeared with press secretary at another 8:30 a.m. briefing. And now this morning, we see the Treasury Secretary do the same. And this is an attempt here as they mark 100 days, Joe, to try to turn the corner a little bit. We talked a few hours back about there's no panic in the West Wing about these poll numbers, but there's not happiness either. They see the trends. They see the headlines that say that Trump has a historically low approval rating at the 100-day mark. They're looking to try to reset it. And as so often, we've seen this since 2015 when Trump first took a step onto the presidential stage, his reflexive instinct, anytime he wants to change the conversation, you go to immigration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, inside the White House, you're hearing the same things that I'm hearing. Number one, I say he's freed up. He's not running for re-election again, so he doesn't have to worry about that, despite the fact the third-term trolling does continue unabated. And then the second thing they'll say is that, we've got time. We prefer good poll numbers to bad poll numbers, but we think the next 100 days, we've had a lot of disruption the first 100 days. We think the second 100 days, We're going to see trade deals. We're going to see peace deals. And we're going to be seeing tax deals, reconciliation deals. So we'll see what happens. Let's bring in right now the co-anchor of CNBC Squawk Box and New York Times columnist, Andrew Ross Sorkin. Andrew, we've talked about the politics of it. John and I have talked about the politics of why the Treasury Secretary was out there with the White House spokesperson. I'm curious, did you gain anything economically from that? Did you get any answers that might calm the fears of Wall Street or American consumers who, obviously, if you look at every poll that's out there right now, very concerned about the way the White House tariffs are going?
I'm afraid to say I didn't. And he has been soothing the markets by coming out and being public, though I don't think, as we all saw, that there were a lot of answers. In fact, I would imagine that people are frustrated, and there's a sort of a disconcerting piece about what exactly is happening with these negotiations with China. It doesn't appear that there are talks going on, and it appears that he continues to say that he's not engaged in those talks himself if there are talks going on. It's odd that he can't comment specifically on these China talks. He seems to know a lot about or be willing to say that he's having talks with all these other countries. But again, we have no timeline for where this is all going to shake out. And so I think this is going to get pushed out and continue to have a sort of a volatile market as a result of it. I do think, and I want to just make a point about the Amazon comments, because I think that's going to be the next big headline of the morning. First of all, I don't think we know yet exactly what this could look like on the website. This was this report from Punchbowl. I'm not suggesting it's wrong. I just think there's a question mark about how it would manifest itself in a practical way. There is a distinction, though, that's important to make between what you heard there from the White House as it relates to them saying, look, Amazon didn't do this when Biden had tariffs on, and Amazon didn't do this during the first Trump administration. That is true, but for the most part, the products that are sold on Amazon were not tariffed, and not tariffed at these levels. So when you're talking about tariffs at 145%, it's going to change prices materially. The kinds of things that had been tariffed under Biden and Trump prior to this were, solar panels, EV batteries, semiconductors. These were not products that you and I could go on our Amazon app and buy. So this is going to be a different experience. Now, yes, this is going to be a billboard, though, for the tariffs. There's no question that is what's going to happen. But I wonder whether, as a result of these comments this morning, whether Amazon will go through with it, and actually whether this will silence all retailers, Walmart and anybody else who was even thinking about indicating what was going on here. Now, I would think as a customer, this would be great transparency. You want that. You want to know what's going on, but this may change that.
Andrew, it's one thing if Jeff Bezos is trying to cozy up to Donald Trump for whatever reasons he's trying to cozy up to Donald Trump, but the first group of people he has to cozy up to are his customers.
Yes.
Same with Walmart. Same with and if customers see items going up, 10, 15, 20, 25%, and there's no explanation, their anger is going to be directed at Amazon, at Walmart, at Costco, at Target. You just go down the list. So I understand the White House has been very effective in scaring some of these guys. But it's one thing having political pushback. It's quite another having it from the very people who decide whether your business succeeds or fails.
I don't disagree with you. I just think that this administration has managed to scare so many businesses into silence. We've seen it over and over again. I actually mentioned it yesterday to somebody. I had a CEO tell me, I don't want to be Harvarded. That was the phrase. I don't want to be Harvarded, which means basically I don't want to have to get in a lawsuit with them and then coming after me in some other way. And I think that is what worries CEOs today. So do I think that Amazon may look at this and say to themselves, OK, maybe I'm going to try to get the word out in a different way. I'm not going to poster it on each thing. Maybe. I don't know how this is all going to play out, but I do think that this administration has scared these CEOs so much that they are worried about either being regulated in some way that they don't know about. I mean, all of these businesses, whether it's Walmart or Amazon or whomever, have massive relationships or rely on the government, not for funding, but for allowing them to do all sorts of things. You know, Amazon just put Kuiper, which are these new satellites, into the sky in the past 24 hours. That's a very, very big deal. They're going to want to be able to continue to do that. There's all sorts of things like that where they need the permission, effectively, of the government. And if the government tries to block them on anything, the question is, what's the risk reward as it relates to showing these prices? I would think the transparency should win, but as you know, I think we've seen that, unfortunately, in this day and age, transparency is all too often getting lost.
Yeah, that was an incredible news conference with just almost zero answers, actually, to the questions that were asked. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, thank you very much